Cassar. Well, welcome to the Just As Planned TV and podcast show, where we bring wedding experts to your home to provide you with insider tips and knowledge to help make your special day go just as planned. Now, I'm your host and professional wedding MC, Nathan Cassar, and today we have a very special guest who I'm sure is going to leave you all spellbound. He is known as Neo Song, or he goes by his stage name, Illusionist Neo. I absolutely love that. Now, Neo is not just an illusionist, but an actor with formal training in the theatrical arts. He creates his own magic tricks and illusions and has even provided consultation to different industries in conjunction with specialized experts, including those from the Marvel Cinematic Universe studio. Now, it's no surprise that Neo's work has earned him a nomination for Outstanding Performance by an Ensemble Cast in a Motion Picture by the Screen Actors Guild Award in 2022. Congratulations, that is amazing. Now, on today's show, we will be discussing the fascinating world of magic, illusions, and weddings. We'll start by understanding what a magician / illusionist does and is, and what types of magic and illusions exist. Just like there are different types of music, there are, of course, different categories in magic. Now, we'll also be diving into the topic of hiring a magician for weddings. Neo will be explaining why exactly having a magician at your wedding can be a great idea for adding a touch of magic to your special day, and how to determine if a magician is worth the investment. And finally, we'll also discuss some of the challenges that clients may face when hiring a magician and how to overcome them. If you're keen on making your wedding extra magical, you definitely don't want to miss this episode. So prepare for a mind-bending experience as we delve into the world of magic and illusions with the great Neo Song. Neo, hello.
Hello. Hi, guys.
I absolutely love your name. I just and I love that, of course, you've got like the very sort of the dark black aesthetic. I remember when we worked together, I was, immediately thinking, are we going to be bringing the Matrix to is either one out of the Matrix? I just love your name. I love everything that you do, and it was an absolute pleasure to be working alongside you as you're providing table magic to the guests at the wedding last year. Tell us, just curiously before we start, what inspired you to become a magician in general?
Well, that has a very long story actually, but because we don't have any much time, so I'm just gonna shorten this short as I can, because it does actually have a very long story. But the simplest answer was I was actually practicing guitar when I was a kid, when I was in high school, and because I like music, and then I just saw a magic show on TV, and it just got my attention, and I just put the guitar away for a while. Okay, you can wait just that, and then I just watched the magic, and I just watched through the whole day, and after that I just searched for magic and just got interested, and I just kept doing that. And then I've never practiced guitar again after that.
It certainly made you a lot more money doing the magic than it has the guitar. You've never picked up the guitar ever again? You've never been interested at all?
No. I ain't interested. I love music, the guitar or singing or whatsoever. It just that my full interest just got in there. So I didn't even think of doing this guitar again.
No, fair enough. I mean, look, I'm a classically,
and also this practicing guitar was just it was just a hobby, but the magic now it became just my life and my job. So.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree with you. And look, I feel you. I'm a classically trained pianist from the age of 5, but, I know the value of, if you have a craft, you've got to practice it. If you don't practice it, then, you're not going to get very far. And obviously, you professionally do this for big stages, big audiences each and every single week, and you've made a big career of this. So, even as I said in the intro, Marvel took an interest in you. How was it like working with Marvel for the recent film?
Well, I like people. I like working with like a fully professional, keep things everything just professional on times, and it's worked as a scheduled and worked as a planned and organized, right? So for me, it was a great environment to work with. Yeah, it was sensational.
Oh, it's fantastic. I'm just so jealous, and congratulations on your nomination. Tell us,
Thanks.
obviously, of course, I don't want to sound like, we're treating our audience like that too. Like, obviously, everyone knows what a magician is, but I'd really like to hear it from an expert like yourself. Of course, there's a nuance to every expert craft out there. So,
Right,
beyond just, pull a rabbit out of a hat kind of magic,
right,
endless handkerchiefs out of a sleeve, what is exactly a magicianist or an illusionist? Like, who are they exactly?
right. That is the question that I always ask the people because for me, ever since I was a kid, I had a great interest in how people behave and what is the thoughts behind like what's the motivation of their all those behaviors, right? So for me, as ever since I became a magician, and the more I study what I do, and it just got me interested now more how they see us, right? But before I start explaining, I just have to make sure that there's nothing really. Uh, I don't know if it's the right word, but there's nothing wrong with this pulling rabbit out of the hat trick or handkerchief or some sort. It's a great trick, like what you guys call trick, right? It's a great illusion. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's just now the matter is how the people perceive that and how the people see that thing, right? So then I have to ask you, what do you think? What's a magician's job? Like, what do they do? What do you think they do?
Well, as
Because
far
I
as
mean you're also just like a non-magician person like anyone else
hmm.
for me. What do you think?
Well, I've had the privilege of obviously, in my time on cruise ships and now in my current job, I've
Sure.
had the privilege of being able to, host, and welcome many people like yourself. And of course, I know that you also worked on cruise ships too. So I've had a little bit of a sort of behind the curtain experience. But let's imagine for a sake that, I go back before I knew any of the magic behind it all. My perception is that, a magician is supposed to, you're igniting the senses. You are providing an opportunity for people to doubt their reality, and in doing
Right,
so you're creating a sense of wonderment at the same time.
right. No, that's a great answer. It's just that now then if I go a little bit deeper in that answer and deeper in that idea, then I also have to ask then how do we do that? How do we make the people experience like unrealistic reality and like make people like having the feeling of the wonder? How do we do that?
Well, I would say that it would be, from our perspective as an audience, it's
Right.
using either tricks such as, smoke and mirrors like the traditional ideal, or
Mm.
particular, trick props that have secret ways of being able to manipulate, the particular object going through another or something. Or,
Right.
in more grander cases, you have, a sleight of hand or
Right.
misdirection that allow the
Right.
audience to be focusing on one thing where you're doing something completely entirely.
Right. Right. I see. So the at the moment what you're mentioning is the tools to create the answer that I was looking for. So, as a magician or a illusionist, pretty much in my expertise, the word illusionist in the real actual reality on this planet Earth, the when we say he's a magician or he's an illusionist, these two are pretty much the same meaning. All right. I mean, as far as this English dictionary goes, and how the people see that. Okay. Uh, Magician and illusionist, their job, my job, is just only one thing, which is to create illusion. Like a pianist, the pianist's job is like playing the piano or creating something that can be played by piano, or painter's job, painting paintings, right? Same thing, the magician or illusionist, our job is to create magic, what you call magic or illusion, which is the same thing. Then, which means that now I have to know what is illusion. How do we define that? Right? Would you
Mm.
be able to have some sort of a feeling how to explain what illusion is? If somebody
Well,
asks you how do you define, how do you answer that? What is illusion?
Well, I would say it is expecting one thing and then being presented an alternative reality as as another, in the
Right,
moment.
right. So that is the what you're saying. That one is the result of the illusion. So let me explain a bit further. So simplest idea of what illusion is that when the people see things or experience things, it is not what it seems to be, although it seems to be what it is, right? So in other words, as a magician or illusionist, let's say just illusionist, as an illusionist, when we present something to the audience, we make them believe what they experience is real, even if it's not. Also, vice versa, we make them believe whatever they experience is not real, even if it is. So that is the like a simplest approach that I can have in order to define what illusion is, right? But for us to do that, just we need at least two elements. One is called misdirection, which is the core idea of how we create the illusion, and the other is of course sleight of hand. Of course, there's some other details like a scientific knowledge or some props and technology also. Okay, but those are the some more details that. But ideally, at least you need two elements, either misdirection or sleight of hand. So everybody knows sleight of hand is, but not many people are aware of what misdirection is. Right? Have you heard this idea, the misdirection?
Oh yes, of course. Yes, I've worked with some of the best magicians and illusionists in misdirection in the world, and it's
Right.
always for me like the simple tricks. For instance, the one where you present. I love this one. Actually, I saw this at a wedding recently, where you sit the groom down, and you say, right. It's always more funny when you do it with the groom than the bride for some reason. But
Right.
you have the cotton ball, and you get the tissue bag, and you sort of throw it, and they don't realize as they're doing you're saying which one is it in which hand, and you both hands end up being empty. And I don't want to give
Right.
the trick away, but the idea, of
Yes.
course, is that they never understand where the ball actually
Yes.
ends
Yes.
up,
Yes.
and
Yes.
obviously it's very funny for the audience to see that, and it's a classic for me. That's like the classic misdirection sort of
Yes, that's
stage show.
correct. Yes, that's correct. That's the idea. There's a very well example of utilize a lot of portion of idea of misdirection. So idea of the misdirection is that nowadays because of the internet, a lot of people starting to aware of what misdirection is. And whenever I ask this question, people tends to say, "Oh, look at here," and then something is over here. All right. So it's not wrong. It's not wrong. But just for the sake of our viewers' knowledge, misdirection is that we control their attention into certain path, okay, so that they don't see what's about to come next, right? But here the keyword is attention, because attention, when we say attention, it does not only include this visual attention, because when we say attention, it also includes their thinking process, what we call perception, right? So as a magician and illusionist, our job is to create illusion by using the idea of misdirection. So we are actually what we are doing is that we are guiding the audience's thoughts and their visual direction into certain path, so that they don't see what's about to come next. Of course, without they realizing they're being guided by us.
Yeah, absolutely, and I love seeing it happen on stage, and the
Yeah,
wonderment that comes from an audience, particularly for the not ever having been with the show before. Now,
yeah,
speaking specifically, obviously, people obviously can tell that you're extraordinarily talented and knowledgeable of what you provide, which obviously is a big thing when it comes to any vendor, particularly such a niche sort of point of entertainment such as a magician, which obviously don't often get booked for weddings, but compared to other vendors. But
but
certainly, in my experience already with yourself and a couple of others that I've worked with, they do add a really, really special, memorable touch to a wedding. In your opinion, why is it a great idea to have a magician at somebody's wedding?
well, first of all, I think we have talked about this the nature of being very unique, I guess, and very different from the other forms of entertainment. I think because even now, uh, across the all of the world, the job as a magicians are quite unique, and it's not many compared to other forms of entertainment, right? So it's a little bit, it's comparatively speaking, it's harder for them to find those magicians. And nowadays a lot easier than before, but still, comparatively speaking, right? So those that uniqueness is there. And also
Yeah.
what makes it really different from other entertainment is that it can be quite intimate and personal,
Mm.
because when we present these illusions and magic as a forms of entertainment, it can be customized into what they need, and it can be customized into the certain situation, because every weddings and every client's having a different needs and different characters, right? So, but as a magician, we can customize that into fitting in that, right? So that's why, as a client's perspective, it can be a lot more personal and intimate, and also which leads to being a lot more memorable for the future.
Oh, you're so absolutely correct. Particularly when I know that when you were doing your table magic, for instance, at the wedding we worked together on, it was
Yeah,
great to have those little moments when I was obviously hosting the entire thing and keeping the vibe alive and keeping things nicely flowing, etc. You
yeah,
just being able to flit around the room and provide that sense of wonderment and amazement as they're finishing their meals was such a great way to provide, as you said, those intimate, memorable moments that are so unique to what they would have anticipated arriving before the night took place. But more importantly, the essence of what you're actually doing is just was incredible, because you can just see people's eyes lighting up, and they're
yeah,
getting this sense of wonder and amazement from it all. And if you hadn't have been there, that would never have taken place. You did
yeah,
mention, though, in speaking about the client, look, there are a lot of magicians out there. I've worked with a couple of the people, a couple of your compatriots in the industry as well. But there are many, many, many out there. How does, just like any vendor, I guess, but speaking specifically to something as niche as a magician, how does a wedding couple who are like, yep, no, I'm sold. Like, I love the intimacy of it. I love the amazement, wonderment. I love magic. But then, okay, well, who do I choose? How do they go about the process of determining who is worthy of being spent their money on as a magician?
yeah. Well, I guess that question, I think the question applies to every other clients, not just only ratings. And also sometimes when we are clients of something, we have to look for certain information, and we want to make sure that our money is worth spending for them, right? But especially when for the magicians, first they have to read uh, the biography and the information what they've been doing, right? And the second next one is this. Next best way is to watch if they hit that video, then watching the video and see what the vibe is going. But the problem with the video is that nowadays, because of this such an amazing editing skills,
Mm.
it's a little bit harder to tell whether what they're seeing is actually legit, because you can always pick up the moments and moments and moments and put them together and then make the video live and looking very very exciting and engaging. I mean, I mean that applies to every other videos as well, but that is kind of limitless of that. So the best way that I would suggest is that actually having a meeting with the actual person, like what they are hiring, who they are hiring.
Mm.
Because once you sit down and having a meeting, then you can see physically what type of persona that this guy has and what type of energy that this guy has. And then you can ask some more direct questions in that moment, so that you can understand about this person, okay, what he has been doing, what sort of philosophies and thought that he has about performing a wedding, and if this guy actually has some sort of experience, and if this guy sounds actually making sense. You can actually tell a lot better than reading or watching the videos on the internet, right?
Oh,
So
absolutely, absolutely. I think for craft like yours and I's, it's
yeah,
it's it's imperative that people understand who we are as individuals, and having those meetings, are essential. I just had a meeting with a couple that I'm grateful to be doing their wedding in September. They just agreed yesterday as we had a coffee meeting, and so like it was
yeah,
imperative for them that they met with me, and
that's a
the
great
same
idea. Yeah,
is Well, it's the same for you, of course. I mean, you're 100% right. There are some really, really clever, video editing tricks you can do out there to make
Yeah,
someone look fantastic. But it's another thing to understand because they're inviting you into that
yeah,
space to provide that intimacy, to provide that sort of upfront experience.
yeah,
And if you're somebody who is, doesn't have the just doesn't have the personality, or they're just getting a vibe that they're not happy with, then
yeah, yeah.
as
That's
I
actually
said.
correct. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, because that's the. I mean, I've been doing this magic as my profession like about over 20 something years right now. But when I was a lot younger, I used to just making only focusing on that sort of exciting looking videos, and so that I can just catch their eyes and get their attention. But more when I get more experienced, I realized that once I start putting myself into their shoes,
Mm,
it's just it has a really like it can look like a just kind of trickery to trick people like a just giving a hook and they get them interested, right? For me,
mm,
I felt a little bit like not really. It can look like a little bit not sincere to the people
mm,
because those videos can be in in many different ways. It can be edited in a very nice way just
mm.
to hook them in, right? So that's why I always, whenever it is possible, I always tell them, look, if you have some time, I'm happy to make a time for you. Okay. It's because so that you can actually see what I am like, who I am like, and you can talk with me. And then if you want, I'm happy to show you some of my, favorites, small illusions or tricks whatsoever. And then once you meet me, and then if you do not like the way I talk and my energy and then my explanation and my tricks, if you do not like any of those or any single one of them, you should not hire me.
Mm,
Hire
mm,
someone else. You should not go anywhere because hiring a magician is not cheap. Okay, and then also it is your wedding, which should be the only once in your life. All right, so even if it's a small or big money, doesn't matter. Whatever you spend, you have to work it. So once you met me, and then if you did not like or like, you just make decision after that. Okay. So I always
oh,
told them,
yeah.
and also one more thing I want to mention is that because I started realizing in that way, I changed my this promotional video style. I don't really put my video on my website with a very fancy skills and making looking exciting whatsoever. I don't have any videos like that. All my videos on my website is explaining what I am and what is close-up roving performance is and what's gonna happen to your wedding. It's like an interview style, so that they
Mm.
can actually have a lot deeper and you know a lot productive knowledge out of watching the video.
Well, it's like it's a lot more real. I think that's a really good thing when it comes to, because obviously I think it's a great example of how to pick any vendor for a wedding, but in particular like the niche sort of markets like yours and I's, it's critical that, as you say, to get that more of a deeper knowledge of understanding of what they're going to experience on the day and how it's going to feel having you there on stage and being, you because realistically you're taking up, excluding the table magic time, a niche like yours is taking up anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes stage time in the run sheet. So
Yeah,
that's critical time that they've paid for. That's taking away from their open dance floor time. That
yeah,
impacts, speech times, meal times, everything. And so that's a big decision to say, yes, this
absolutely.
person is going to create these, there is without a doubt the wondery and magic that they're going to provide is going to be, and also just the feeling we're going to have sitting at the bridal table watching this, and obviously maybe perhaps being a part of the tricks as well, is
Right.
without a doubt so, much more needed than anything else where we're looking at. So yeah, absolutely, definitely the biggest hurdle to go over is, have those meetings. And I was actually going to ask you if you do a couple of tricks for the couples, so I'm glad to hear
Right.
that you do. So they get a little sample from you as well, which is pretty great.
Oh, right now.
No, I'm saying like the couples themselves, they, it's great that you give them a little sample as well, that you're able to
Yeah.
provide them,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, yeah, of course. I mean, it doesn't take a long time for me to do anything for the couple to see some sort of a tricks that I do. I mean, absolutely. And also they have to see it because, all they can watch the magic trick. If they want to watch the magic trick, just through the YouTube. All right. As I said, these magicians or illusionists, we are not that many compared to other forms of entertainment. So it's a very, again, comparatively speaking, it's harder for them to actually witness what is going to happen, you know? So that's why I always suggest, if it's possible, I'm happy to make a time for you. All right. And then, we can go from there. And then also you can give me some questions that you want to ask. And now, of course, I have to show you some things so that you can see what it feels like to see so many magic tricks from audience point of view,
I absolutely love that. Neo, look, you're definitely providing something that, I definitely resonate with when it comes to the magic of a wedding, which is to literally provide magic, but more importantly, to create lasting memories that you just don't get from, when we're dealing with these intangibilities, things you can't necessarily take away from apart from your own mind and memories. It's really critical that, brides and grooms really take a step to think about these things. So I'm so thrilled that you're out there being such a professional and being so amazing at what you do to provide brides and grooms the absolute, dream day beyond their expectations. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for today, but I just want to say thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations on your amazing work so far, and I cannot wait to see more of your magic out there very shortly at another wedding.
No problem. Thanks for having me here.
Well, there you have it. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Just As Planned TV and podcast show. We hope you enjoyed this episode and found some valuable insights and tips to help you plan your dream wedding. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button on our channel and turn on notifications to stay up to date with our latest episodes. And if today's episode has inspired you in your own wedding journey, feel free to let us know in the comments section, or simply send through any burning questions you may have to hello@justasplanned.com.au. We wish you all the very best in planning your big day, and we hope your wedding goes just as planned.